Okay, so good morning, everybody. Good morning to my colleagues. Good morning to all our viewers. We're glad to welcome you to this second edition of the tour of the CEE countries in 45 minutes. I'm very glad to see that we have a big number of names that were present on the first edition. So it means we did a good job. I hope we will do the same this time. We will talk about three major issues: health situation in our respective countries. We will do a little economic overview, and we'll present you some hot topics. Not to be too long, I'd like to introduce all of my colleagues from the region, starting from up north, Monika Konstant from Poland. We go to Prague to Michal Macko, then to Daniela Galova in Bratislava, Agnes Ducrot from Budapest, myself, Marko Klemovic from Zagreb, Sanja Ivanic in Belgrade, and last but not least, Adriana Lecor from Bucharest. The first edition was a little longer than 45 minutes. It was because of me, because I talked too much. So this time, no more of that. I propose we start right away with the first topic, which will be health situation in our countries. Monika, this morning I was looking at the European map of the pandemic situation, and it seems that Poland is all green. How come?
Yeah, exactly. We noticed any dead person these days. And we have about 903 persons infected, only 903 persons infected. So we can say that the situation is quite stable and safe in Poland, and we hope that it will remain the same. So we don't see really any dangerous situation in Poland about concerning COVID pandemic. And as I said, I hope it will be all still safe.
Thank you, Michal. On to you and Czechia. You have to unmute yourself.
I'm sorry. Hello to everybody. So the figures in Czech Republic are not so nice like in Poland. You know that we are 4 times smaller than Poland, and our numbers are actually about 1,300. That's the number of yesterday. Quite an important number. Nevertheless, the person that are hospitalized are not so important like last year or during this spring, because there's already 57% of people vaccinated. They're not so much like in France, but we hope that that will be a bit better. We can organize events. We can do the events up to 500 persons inside, 1,000 outside. There's no limitations on the normal life. We have to wear face masks. That's it. And for the transport to Czech Republic, we have here only Poland that is a low risk. And a lot of countries that are medium or high risk all around this table. But the most important thing is, if you are fully vaccinated, you can come to Czech Republic, even if you are coming from the green or red country. If not, for the red countries and dark red countries, you have the self-isolation from 5 to 14 days. We have more details on our web pages, or you can ask us after. So that's for Czech Republic.
Well, it is a little same in Croatia when arriving. If you have an EU digital certificate, there is no additional limitations for entering Croatia. If you do not, on the other hand, you will need a fresh PCR or the quick RAT test. It's valid for EU and non-EU countries. Once in Croatia, the masks are obligatory in all public premises, not on the outside. It's not that strict. And concerning the bars, cafes, restaurants, shopping, etc., there are really no special limitations. Even for some bigger events, let's say, you can organize up to 100 persons, more if all the present guests have been vaccinated. The vaccination rate is not that great in Croatia. The government, the authorities try to incite the population to do more, but really without any major results. On the other hand, we've noticed a very good disciplined behavior in companies. Meaning that it's automatically a home office for everybody if a colleague is diagnosed with COVID. Tests are done for everybody, etc. And there still is quite a big percentage of us working from home office. That's for Croatia. Let's go to Bratislava and Daniela.
Yes, the epidemic situation in Slovakia has been worsening in recent weeks, and several countries, including Czech Republic and also Romania, have classified Slovakia already as a red country, so the risky one. Currently, we have over 1,000 new infected every day, and the number of patients in hospital is also increasing. From that number, approximately 75% are non-vaccinated persons. However, the situation in hospital is still under control. Regarding the vaccination coverage, if we see the whole population, there is 45.2% fully vaccinated. As the number of infected people has increased in the last week, also the interest in vaccination has increased, but just slightly. As for the measures, they are more or less same as in your countries, but in Slovakia, they are applied as a local measures, so they vary according to district you are. We have 5 color scales, and all districts are currently in stages 2 to 4. So we have no district with the most strictest measures, but none of them is well without any measures. This evaluation is made every week. Regarding the arriving in Slovakia, the person is still obliged to register in e-border form, and in case of arrival by plane, there is one more special form which must be filled in, but this does not apply if you fly, for example, to Vienna, only if you fly to Slovakia directly. We have still the quarantine for 14 days upon arrival to Slovakia for unvaccinated people. If you are fully vaccinated, there are no obligation, just registration in e-board. And maybe one hot topic in this theme, vaccination with the third, so-called booster dose is expected to start in Slovakia in the next few days. And this is for now primarily intended for people with a low immunity, but over time it will be available for all those who wish to receive it.
Thank you, Daniela. Agnes, how about Hungary?
In Hungary, about 60% of the population is vaccinated. It was a very good average at the beginning of vaccination period. Now we are in the average of Europe, so it's growing only very slowly, the new vaccination. The average daily new case is about 600 last 10 days. It's also growing slowly up and up. There is no, the mask is no more mandatory in Hungary from the summer now. So it's quite surprising if you are looking for around you in Europe. We can also organize every event if all we want. The only restriction is to have sanitary pass if it's a professional event. So if the chamber is organizing an event, it's mandatory. Today, you can travel to Hungary if you are vaccinated, fully vaccinated, or fresh PCR. The only restriction is for Ukrainian people. So the other countries are free to travel if they are vaccinated. And for the moment, there is no major lockdown is expected if the situation remains quite simple.
Okay, thank you. Sanya, how about Belgrade in Serbia?
I would say first, hello from Belgrade. The worst student in the assembly, I would say. Very bad situation, actually. Currently, although for the past 2 days we have had the numbers going down slowly, but we are right now surfing our, I don't know, 4th, 5th, which wave already can be, yeah. Around 6,000 to 7,000 contaminated people every day, around 50 people dying every day. Nonetheless, we have close to no measures except for the masks that you are obliged to know inside the offices, inside the shopping malls, supermarkets, etc. Otherwise than that, we are still going normally to restaurants, clubs. We can organize meetings of 500 people if we wish. So I would say that since Serbia was very advanced in vaccination at the beginning, we had all the possible and imaginable vaccines very early on, and people started getting vaccinated, and at some stage they just stop. We are not even 50% of vaccinated people. I believe that the politics is now go ahead, get vaccinated or get contaminated, because economically speaking, I don't think that we can allow ourselves to close the country once again. So that's it pretty much. Otherwise, to enter Serbia, no problem, either fresh PCR or vaccination. We also have, although Serbia is not in the European system, we do have these green certificate and accept European vaccinations. So no problem to enter Serbia. Currently, we are on the orange lists for the most of European countries.
Thank you. And Adriana from Bucharest. You have to unmute yourself.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, Romania, it's following a little bit to the same trade. All Romania, it's already in the red zone. And the number of cases per day, it's increasing. We estimate to reach the peak of the fourth wave somewhere end of October. So we expect the two following weeks to be even more difficult. The vaccination rate is around 30%, but the booster dose for all population has already started since September. Roughly the same access measures as in all the other countries. All vaccinated people can enter Romania and can participate to events. Restaurants are open, bars are closed. Events are possible up to 200 people. I would say that business life goes more or less as usual, with maybe more online that during the summertime. Quite disciplined in the business environment in terms of mask wearing and distanciation, well, even if on the following weeks maybe the situation will go rougher, we expect that by the end of the year it will get stabilized again.
Thank you, Adriana. You already mentioned some business, etc. Why don't you continue with our next subject, a little about the economy? How are things?
So luckily the business news are better than the sanitary news. Romania has an outlook of growth for the this year and upcoming year. It's estimated to have about a growth of about 7.4 this year and 4.9 the following year. Inflation is a little bit more difficult to estimate. It was quite stable, even decreasing till August, but we see an increase of the inflation since September, especially determined by the increase of prices in energy, the lack of raw material, and the deficit of the labor. So all this are putting pressure on the prices and on the costs, and raising inflation. So this is the main question that the business environment is asking itself for this year, how to position the evolution, the outlook of the companies for the following years. There are some measures that are taken into account, especially to control the cost of the energy, which increased with about 24% since August. So the government is thinking about reducing the VAT for the energy, or some other kind of measures in order to contain the inflation. Otherwise, domestic and foreign demand are increasing, which is boosting mainly all the sectors that were on a positive trend, like the retail, IT, and construction, which were the highest growing sectors for the last period. Industry is very conditioned, of course, by the lack of raw materials. Otherwise, it would have a rather positive outlook. And we also expect that a big economic boost will be given next year by the implementation of the resilience plan, which was approved by Brussels in September and needs to be operationalized in the following months.
Thank you. Everybody hopes for that, and I think we all agree that the prices of energy is not good. The augmentation of the prices of energy is not a good thing at the moment. We are projecting a slide. You can see a comparative table of the growth rate for our respective countries. I will continue with Croatia if you permit me. The growth rate for 2021 is at 5.4%. It is above the EU average, as well as I think the rest, the majority of the countries of the region. But I'd say the number is really subject to a good review and modification since the economic activities have really kicked off, restarted in Croatia, mainly because of an excellent tourist season this summer, which still continues. It is really prolonged this year. Now, as you well know, this part of economy is extremely important for Croatia, if not crucial, not only because it involves so many sectors of activities, the transport, the retail, the infrastructure, the services, but also because it works wonders for the mindset of the business community and of the general population. When you have a good tourist season in Croatia, all is not gloomy. There is new hope. There is a good will, and it certainly is visible in this restart this summer and fall of this year. Another thing I would like to mention is that the preparations for the introduction of euro are well on the way. We do have a very competent and strong central bank. It's very important, and the kuna should be replaced in just over a year in January 2023. And for the end of my minute, just a brief return from the terrain, from our member companies, from the companies we see in our daily work. Never had a better and busier summer. The fall should be as busy. We hope it will stay the same. For now, it's very good and a very good restart and reopening. Let's go to my neighbor, to Sanja, to see how things are evolving in Serbia. Sanja, can you hear us?
Sorry,
Yeah.
coming right now. Right, Serbia, pretty much the same situation as Romania and Croatia, as you will say. We have a huge growth projected for this year. The plan is like 7.5% of GDP, which, as the government says, will enable a salary and pensions increase, which has been, let's say, frozen for some time. It actually grew the GDP by 13.7% year on in the second quarter of 2021, which is a really important growth. The sectors that are best functioning, I would say, in this period are definitely the construction sector. Any of you who may have come to Belgrade could have noticed that we have been building buildings and commercial centers and everything everywhere. So it's kind of very visible, the growth of the construction sector. Industry as well, because Serbia has now a certain reputation of a country that has a great workforce, which is very qualified and at a price that is fairly accessible. Of other interesting news, I might notice that, for example, just last week, the first circular economy EBRD program has been launched, destined especially for the SMEs, where small and medium-sized enterprises will be able to get funding from the EBRD, the GEF, and the Austrian government in order to promote the implementation of innovative technologies and adoption of business models that are based on circular economy. And also, recently we announced the integration of Serbian capital market into the International Central Depository Clearstream, which is the subsidiary of Deutsche Börse Group, that will also give foreign investors access to Serbian sovereign bonds, which are denominated in dinars. So these are short news. The economy is, contrary to the COVID situation, fine.
Thanks. Let's go to Budapest.
Yes, in Hungary it's quite the same situation. The expected growth is 6.3%. But with very serious inflationary pressures, as was told by Adriana in Romania. The good performance, this growth, will lead the country to the pre-crisis level, even exceed this level. All sectors are contributing to this growth, but mainly services and industries. The construction level is very strong as well, but we can notice real high prices, growing prices in the construction sector. The Hungarian economy is recovering quickly from the crisis, and it was also proved by Moody's, who upgraded Hungary's rating to Baa2. It was based on the strong economic situation and rebound from the pandemic situation with a stable outlook. One thing will be the challenge for all the countries, I think, in the region, the shortages, because certainly it will impact the automotive sector in the whole region, and production should be stopped or closed for 1 or 2 weeks during the end, until the end of this year, because of shortage problems. So that's all for Hungary.
Thank you, Agnes. Daniela, how about Slovakia?
Yes, the Slovak economy is rebounding at a moderate pace due to the third wave of the coronavirus pandemic, but it will continue expanding. The GDP growth for the 2021 was originally estimated at 4.9%, but with the situation in several sectors and the third wave, it will be likely more on 3.9%. Although household consumption will drop at the end of the year and the recovery of the labor market will be delayed, the impact of the coronavirus on the economy and employment as well will be softer than it was the end of the last year. Household consumption in the fourth quarter will sink by less than 2%. And affected will be mainly the sectors of services such as accommodation, food services, recreation. If we already talked about the industry in Slovakia, is the same situation. The industry is expected to remain resilient despite the fact that the global market is struggling with the semiconductor components shortages. In Slovakia, this affects mainly the car manufacturers and the electronic producers as well. Yesterday, Jaguar Land Rover announced that they have to stop production for several days because of this reason. You already talked about the inflation in Slovakia. The situation is the same. The harmonized inflation data confirmed that prices are growing. In August, the year-on-year inflation rate reached 3.3%. Analysts project that prices of goods and services will continue increasing in the coming months. Inflation for 2021 is forecast at 2.4%, and it will continue as well in 2022, especially in the first half of the year. And I would like to mention also a hot topic, which is not related only to Slovakia, but also to whole Europe, and is the sharp increase in prices that we can see in the energy sector. Slovak government has to find a solution how to help not just population and households who can be affected by this situation, but also the companies which could go to bankruptcy because of the situation. So they are already presented some solution, but not what they were not yet approved. So we have to wait for the proposition and what will be approved.
Thank you, Daniela. Let's go to Warsaw and to Monica. Monica, unmute yourself, please.
Right, excuse me. GDP of Poland declined by 2.7% in last year, and the forecast for this year are quite good. The forecast for the Polish economic growth is about, as you see, 4.8, even 5% for this year. And the expectation for next year, for 2022, is about 5.3%. So we hope that the economy will grow, will still growing. The problem we have is the inflation, which is quite high. Last month, the inflation in Poland was about 6%. So very, very high, and the reason of inflation are as everywhere, the rise of the price of the fuel, energy, gas, etc., and of course the prices of the materials and products in general. The unemployment in Poland remains still low. Is about 3.4 in this year. and it will remain the same we expected. We hope that the growth of Poland will continue, also because of plan of investment in Poland. Poland is want to invest in the first nuclear power plant for the next years. It will be the strategic investment of Poland for stabilize source of energy and to be more independent and to have this quiet green energy. The government is also investing in the Central Communication Port, CPK, and they plan to build a strategic transport hub in central Poland, which will integrate air, rail, and road transport. And the cost is estimated about 6 or even 7 billion of euro. The next big project for Poland will be the Baltic Pipe, which will be the strategic infrastructure project aiming the diversifying of gas supply sources. And also the digging of the canal of the Vistula Peninsula, which is a big project of our governments. And the commissioning is planned for 2023, so very, very soon. Poland is hope that the project of the Polish recovery plan will support the Polish economy, and also private consumption and strong labor market will continue to drive our economic growth. The investment in the coming years we hope it grow because of implementation of the European program, and also the Polish New Deal, which is very, very huge. More than 24 billion of euro in subsidies are expected for this plan.
Thank you, Monica. I hope you left something for the last topic, the hot topics, with all these news. We still have Michal from Prague to listen to about the Czech economy this year.
Okay, thank you. I will try to be fast. So all the topics that were mentioned we're struggling with too. So the unemployment rate is about 3.5, 3.6%. So lack of people, especially for a country that is so much industrial. Inflation rates last month we have seen increase up to 4.9 in September and 4.1 in August. So that's why the central bank increased for the second time already this year the base rate by 0.75% to final number of 1.5%. That is the most significant rise in the interest rates that we have seen since 1997. This decision that was taken last week, of course, surprised all the economists, and there was quite largely criticized by politicians. But we will come to this point of politics in the next point. And another important point that we already heard from Hungary. So in Czech Republic, you know that we have Škoda Auto, so the manufacturing car manufacturer that has 3 factories in Czech Republic. that contributes to the Czech GDP around 5% and 9% to the country's total exports. And Skoda, after 1 week of suspending manufacturing in September, decided from next week to limit or completely stop the production of cars in all 3 Czech factories from the next week to the end of the year. So that can have really important impact on the economy, on the Czech GDP for the last quarter. We're gonna see what will happen. The company or Skoda asks the government to renew with the antivirus programs, or that we call here Kurzarbeit, because Skoda is one of the biggest employer in the country. So that's from Czech Republic point of view, most important point in macroeconomics or economics.
Thank you, Michal. It seems that after listening to all of you, it seems that Croatia is the best to defend the inflation for the moment. It's at 1.4, 1.5%. We'll see how the situation evolves. Now, for the last topic, it's hot topics, some hot news we'd like to share with you. I will start very briefly with Croatia, and I can say all eyes on the government. Why? Because the European Commission has disbursed 818 million euro to Croatia in a pre-financing payment under the Recovery and Resilience Facility, the RRF. It is approximately the equivalent to 13% of the country's total financial allocation under this facility, and it will be, it is another help to kick-start the implementation of the crucial investments, the reform measures outlined in Croatia's Recovery and Resilience Plan. All in all, Croatia is set to receive a total of 6.3 billion euros, making it the largest recipient of RRF funds when compared to the size of its economy and, of course, the population. So wish us and wish the government wise and good spending of all those funds. Let's see about the other countries, some hot news. Michal, would you like to continue?
Yeah, I've got a very important and interesting hot news, because we have had the election this week, and we have some very important and good news there. So the first one is that we are finally turning back to the back to the European Union, because the center-right 2 coalitions won the elections, and they will have 180 out of 200 chairs. So seems for us like a good future, promising future, turning back to the European Union to Western Europe. That's first point. The second one is even more important and more happy, that for the first time after the revolution, we don't have communists in the parliament. So they did only 3 point something, so they won't be more in the parliament, and the same that became to socialists. So what's the third point is that that is quite tough, and we will see what will happen, because the coalition is center-right, and we don't have, for the first time in the history, we don't have the left wing represented in the parliament. There are no socialists, no communists. They are far-right party that is small, and they are, of course, the actual government party that is more populist, let's say. We're gonna see
yeah, let's see where that goes.
Yeah, we're gonna see.
Thank you, Michal. Daniela, would you like to continue?
Yes, I have 2 or 3 information. The government has announced major investments in the defense sector a few days ago, planning to spend almost 2 billion euros on the purchase of armored vehicles. Regarding this purchase of this equipment, the Ministry of Defense addressed 33 countries with the requests for the offers. If we stay with the government, the budget for the next year was still not presented and still not approved. According to our law, the government must approve the proposition of the budget by 15th of October. Otherwise, it will have to follow the rules of the provisional budget. So we will see what will come in the next day, and hopefully it will be approved. We have several investments in Slovakia, mainly in the automotive sector. I can name few of them. For example, Austria company MIBA is expanding its production. Also, FISAM Auto Decorative plans to expand its production and triple the number of its employees. Volkswagen presented in last days their project with the investment of more than 200 million euros. We already spoke about it the last tour of PECO, and manufacturer Kia plans to expand its production of hybrid and electric vehicles in the upcoming years. Regarding the other sectors, I would like to pick just one, which is green sector, because it's in the government priorities, and the reforms and investments in the green economy make up the largest part of our recovery plan, and we plan to spend more than 2.2 billion euros. From January 2022, Slovakia plans to deposit plastic bottles and aluminium cans as it currently does for glass bottles. However, in order to be able to recycle the collected materials, it is necessary to expand now the network of processor of such materials. And that's why Green Group, one of the biggest plastic recycling business in Europe, has announced another investment in Slovakia in the amount of 12 million euros. It will modernize the existing recycling technology, and this investment follows an initial financial transaction of 13 million euros. So there are many plans and many opportunities in this sector, and I think that in the next months and years we will have a lot of nice projects in a green economy.
Thank you, Daniela. I have to already apologize to our viewers. We are already 2 minutes overdue, but these news are really so interesting. So stay with us for a couple of more minutes. Let's go to Budapest.
Yes, I have just some corporate news in the pharmaceutical sector. As in worldwide, Sanofi is reorganizing its activities, and it's creating a EuroAPI, a European leader for active pharmaceutical ingredients. It will be effective in Hungary from 1st of November, so very quickly. In Hungary, Sanofi is very present, so there will be 3 new branches which will be active on the Hungarian market. The second information concerns an investment which was announced already in 2019 from SEVA, which is an animal vaccine company, which is constructing its second site in Hungary. And the inauguration is planned for November of this year also. And of course, for 2022, it's an election year for Hungary as far as for France. So it's very, very challenging on the political side. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's go to Bucharest. Adriana, share some hot news with us.
Just a couple of news of my side. First of them on the political side. We just had a nomination for a new prime minister last evening. A prime minister who is supposed to take a vote on a new cabinet in 2 weeks' time. It's rather the prime minister is coming from a minority party, which is part of the majority coalition today. So we are leading either on a minority government with support from the parliament, either to a rejection of this cabinet, and maybe we are speaking also of anticipated elections. We will have more visibility on this topic beginning of November. The second news, it's an optimist one, and I'm glad to finish with this. Romania is willing to join the club of the countries offering the digital nomad visas, so for remote workers. So there is a bill of law right now in the parliament willing to grant to people who would like to come to Romania and work digitally all over the world.
Thank you, Adriana. Monica, I know Poland is a huge.
I will have no more time, so I will try
and
to be fast.
a huge market. Do it quickly.
Yeah, just maybe two information from Poland. The first of all, as reaction of the very high inflation, the Monetary Policy Council decided unexpected to introduce unexpected changes in interest rates, and for the first time in 12 years. The Monetary Policy Council of Poland decided to increase them, and the reference rate rose from 0.1 to 0.5% last week. And the second information may be important from some of our clients is that there will be some changes in the renewable energy sources announced by our Ministry of Climate, and we're introducing some measures facilitating the development of the biomethane market and the sale of surplus energy by prosumers, and at the end the creation of energy clusters. And I think the draft should be adopted by the government in the second quarter of 2022, which will change a little bit our sector energy.
Thank you, Monica. Sanja, let's finish with some really bombastic news from Belgrade.
Bombastic? No, I don't think so, but why not? Interesting, I would say. Two hot topics. Last week we had in Slovenia actually, but it's interesting for Serbia as well, Western Balkan Summit, which unites Western Balkans candidates for European Union countries and European leaders. And we had no good news. I would say we even had a little cold shower, because EU leaders actually only reaffirmed Western Balkans European perspective, but gave no timeline for the accession for these countries. And after the summit, we heard countries like Austria or Germany express actually their worry, because they think that failing to move on with accession could potentially push the Western Balkan states into the arms of another international players such as China or Russia. And another thing, actually, which kind of follows this, we have in Belgrade currently a blast from the past. We have the summit of once powerful non-aligned movement for 2 days in Belgrade. The non-aligned movement is celebrating its 60th anniversary. I don't know, a little history lesson maybe. In '61, the non-aligned movement was created on a summit in Belgrade by then Yugoslav leader Tito, Egyptian President Nasser, and Indian Prime Minister Nehru. Today in Belgrade, we had over 100 world leaders who are marking the 60th anniversary. And so far, these countries have evoked the following problems: climate change, pollution, and job losses. But they also criticized strongly rich Western countries because they are allegedly piling COVID vaccines, and they asked those countries, they demanded for a more equal distribution system. And following what I have recently said about pushing Serbia and other countries into the arms of Russia and China, etc., the observers on this non-aligned summit are Turkey and Russia. Call it non-aligned. That's it.
Yeah, right. Well, it wasn't bombastic, but close enough. Thank you all. I think we are 9 minutes overdue. It's very good. We did not waste any of your time more than we needed to. I don't think we wasted any of your time. I hope you found this webinar interesting. I hope you will join us for the next session in 2 or 3 months. If you have any questions for my colleagues or me, do contact our respective chambers. Do follow our web pages. Do follow our LinkedIn profiles. We have a joint a LinkedIn account called Le Booster PECO. It's in French. It means the CEE Le Booster. It's you can find there every week quite a fresh news about each market that we represent. Anyone has to say something from my colleagues? That's it. I think we can all say goodbye and until next time. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.